This tip is about how to leverage the shared agenda to confirm and control meetings throughout the entire sales process. So, the main reason that we leverage the shared agenda is, first of all, to confirm meetings. Because we do a lot of work to cold call and prospect into people, and then we set up these discovery calls, and a lot of those discovery calls don't happen. They get canceled or there's no shows. And one of the main reasons for that is because the person who's on the other end of that, the customer, doesn't even remember what that meeting's for. For instance, I'm a CEO, right? I get called all the time pitching me things. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, you know what? That sounds a great idea. I'm too busy right now. Why don't we schedule a meeting for next week? Great. It goes on the calendar. Now, when next week comes around, I got 50 other meetings that day, and I look at that one, I'm like, what's this about? And that's the first one I'm going to cancel. But if I remember, if you remind me what it's about, and there's a little agenda there, and I can show you're prepared, well, I might actually show up to that. So this is the way it works. Schedule the meeting on the calendar. Don't put the agenda in the original meeting invitation because nobody looks at that. They just hit accept on the meeting invite. But then the night before, or the day before that meeting, send an email that sounds something like this. Hey, John, I'm looking forward to our meeting tomorrow. Not, are we still on for tomorrow? I'm looking forward to our meeting tomorrow. In order to get the most out of our time together here, I put together a brief agenda. Could you do me a favor and email me back to let me know what else you'd like to add? And what you do is I usually put like 3 or 4 bullet points, nothing crazy. You don't want a detailed one here, but 3 or 4 kind of bullet points to guide the conversation. And then I leave 3 or 4 bullet points blank, effectively telling you fill in the blanks. Now, I only get about a 20% response rate on that. But when I get that email back with those agenda points, you know those meetings go great. So now, whether they responded to it or not, the morning of the meeting, I update the meeting invite with the meeting agenda in there. And why I do that is because it's almost a forcing function for them to go take a look at what it is. Because if you update the meeting invitation and the time didn't change, it's like, what happened there? So I open it up and, oh, there's an agenda there. Okay. Then what you can do is you can use the shared agenda to control meetings. Have you ever had a mental agenda of how you want to see a conversation go? And then about 5 minutes in, they ask you that random ass question that takes you down a rabbit hole for the next 45 minutes. And you pick your head up, you realize you got about 5 minutes left to talk about what you actually wanted to talk about. Without an agenda, they're in control, you're not. So you need an agenda to guide the conversation and give you a tool to lean back on when the conversation gets unraveled. So the way it works is, even if they didn't, so for instance, thank you for your time today. Look, I'm sure you probably didn't see the agenda I sent out last night. I just want to make sure that we get the most out of our time together here. Here's a few things I want to make sure that we cover. What else do you want to make sure we add? And then they fill it in. And you might have to adjust the agenda based on their priorities there. But then what happens is you can start going through that agenda. And again, don't go line by line and don't make this a 50-point agenda. 4, 5, 6 different points just to keep us on track. The beauty of that is when that random question comes up, specifically from maybe, the 3rd or 4th person in that meeting who's really just trying to derail it, and they say, well, yeah, does it do this? You can say, hey, you know what, that's a great question. Would you mind, I don't know if I'm gonna have enough time to address that and give it the detailed answer that it needs based on our original agenda here. So if I have time left, would you mind if we got to that at the end? Or we can set up a separate meeting there. And what that does is that gives you a tool to go back to lean on. So leverage the shared agenda to confirm and control meetings and see what happens. Let's make it happen.